Welcome back to the shops. I'm going to try and do a quick video on Locomotive 30, the kit for converting a Bachmann USRA URSA 262 or 060 into an ON30 locomotive. And basically we're turning this into that with a resin kit. The first question that we've had is, how do we get the body off of the Bachmann mechanism? So let me move this one over here. I've been working on this one for a while. I wanted to note a couple of differences about mechanisms, because one of the things that I've discovered is that you always want to start with the best mechanism you can find. If you're going to put this much work into something, start with a good solid mechanism. I'll note one difference here between these two. First of all, the blackened metal wheels usually have a better motor and gearing system. You get a better result if the wheels are blackened as opposed to being bright silver. So I would recommend that. And then, taking them apart, we're going to remove this screw, this here, but you can see that they're slightly different shapes. Can you see that? The underframes have slightly different shapes, and there are several different Bachmann mechanisms out there. So what I have noticed and what you might want to look for is this mechanism. This is number 31. I think this is called an eccentric crank. It's an extra bit of running gear. And this mechanism and this motor, this locomotive runs really, really nicely. So I think you might want to look for one with these extra parts, because it indicates a higher quality mechanism, probably a newer mechanism, a better motor. So that's one suggestion I would have. And I have not tested the new DCC versions. I would suspect that they run really nicely. So hopefully someone can report on that, or we'll find out. But I'm going to remove this screw, and on this one, it's the only screw there is. And so what I'm going to do is gradually kind of loosen it up and pry it out. If you'll notice on this model, I don't think you can see it. Maybe you can see it. There's a Phillips head screw here and a Phillips head screw here. Well, anyway, it's there. So, check for that, because if you don't remove those, that could be a lot more difficult. But what I've been doing is, this is not very, I don't know. I've been prying the mechanism out from the shell. And so I'll get it loosened up a little bit and wedge a screwdriver in there. This may be the exact wrong way to do it, so I am open to suggestions. But as I keep prying, it keeps becoming looser and looser. And I don't know if anybody has a need for these shells. I don't know. They're the paint is good. The details are a little bit off. I did knock the bell off on this one already. So I am trying to gradually pry this off. And I may have to pause the camera for a bit, because something is grabbing it, and I'm not sure what it is. But this is the process. This is my very educated, highly developed process. If you can get that in there and pry it, I mean, really, you could cut the body apart and just take it out in chunks. That may be the better approach. If I can get there, I got it. So just gradually working it loose. And one note too, you notice I've already taken the handrails off of this one. If you can pry these off, I've used a pair of flush rail nippers. Get it in there and pop these stanchions off, and then you've got some nice blackened steel wire. And that's really useful for, like, this locomotive over here. I transplanted the stanchions onto the boiler, onto the water tank, not the boiler, and used a piece of brass but you could use this actual black wire, blackened steel, I think it is, wait a minute, wrong one. You know what? This is really something up here. I think there's a clip. Uh-oh. About knocked I mean, these are loose. That might need some glue later on. Tell you what, I'm going to keep doing this and without the camera running. So all I'm doing, and please, somebody probably knows a better way to make this work, but I'm just doing it this way. So I'm going to keep loosening it up, and I'll come back in just a minute. And as soon as I turn the camera off, pop, there it comes off. Somebody said there were some clips in here, and I'm not seeing them on this model, although you can see the holes where the screws would have gone had this one had screws. So there's our mechanism. And the one thing I want to show you, that no matter what version you're building, you want to clip this off. I don't know that I'll do it live. I might do a better video later, but right here is where you cut off. Can you see that? Right at the end of this piece, it angles up, and right where it angles up, you get your clippers in there and take that off, because this pilot actually has a fake coupler, and it's, you know, very HO scale, so we don't want that. So let me actually, what we'll do over here is I'll kind of do things backwards. So this is mostly complete. So I'm going to, well, get a hold of it good. It's holding itself together. Did I attach something? Oh, there it is. I'm popping out one of these water tanks that actually holds the mechanism onto the body. There we go. There is our mechanism. So you can see it's about, this one looks really similar. I think it's a very, well, no, this one has a circuit board, so it's a little bit newer. And the one thing I wanted to show you, usually I will remove the smoke unit and the headlight. And I suppose there would be a way you could power a headlight with brushes working on this split frame. We'll have to work on that later. So this is obviously a bit newer with the printed circuit board. But this is one of the shorter pilots. This is a pilot for a 060, and there are slots on both of these bits that stick out, and it's designed to be dropped. No, it's not designed. Oh, good, it held on to hit the floor. It's designed to fit. Let's see where we can see it. Fit right over that this thing here. I don't know what that's called. So it slides in like that. You can glue it in. It's probably better to glue it in, but I tend to do everything where I can take it apart later. And then these pins. Oh, and I don't have one handy. Where'd they go? The pins, the small pins. Here they are. This is so well rehearsed and scripted. These small T-pins, or I don't know what you want to call them. You might be able to drop it in from the top, and then gravity would help hold it in place. But these slide through these holes here when you sand them down and hold the pilot in place. And that, you know, applies to the 262 pilot and the 060 pilot, which this is. Let me grab one of the 262s and also show you. If you're doing a 262, I've made this for the wheel set, as this is exactly what's going on here. So this is the front, and this only comes with the 262 pilot, and there's another one that comes that with all of them there's a rear pilot. And this, whoops, well, see that little pin right there? There we go, that pin. The hole in the pilot fits over that pin when the camera's not running, and that keeps the wheel set in place. And what I have done, in order to hold the wheels in place, usually I think I'm using either Katie 36 or 33 inch HO wheel sets because they're nice and blackened and you cut the pins off the edge and it works pretty well, but something that's all metal would work even better. And then there are different sized holes through here where you can slide wire in to hold the wheel set in place. And here are some of the extra parts that come with the kit. I cut a couple of stacks, and of course a number plate, which you got to paint and letter. I would like to develop some decals that you could use for number plates because these usually have a lot of detail to them in reality. There's a headlight, usually two headlights, and I'll provide lenses, but the Bachmann lenses are usually interchangeable, and the Bachmann lenses are better quality than what I can print at this point. I've also got an air pump with some plumbing that can sit on the front corner of the locomotive, a couple of brakes, and a couple of air tanks. I'll show you what I do with those in a minute. Then an extra air tank if you want to locate it someplace else, if you don't want to use the other air tanks. And then there's a coal bunker. Well, it's oil that way, coal that way, and you can put some coal, model coal on that because you just can't beat the way that looks when it's actual coal. Let me just show you what I'm working on here. This would be a backup pilot, and it fell off. Anyway, it would be a backup pilot for the back of the locomotive. There we go. Dang it. Focus. There we go. Okay, it's a work in progress. But let me show you how this connects. Whoop. Lost the whistle. Okay, this little piece under here on the HO version, that is the bottom of the smoke box. But here it actually inserts into the smoke box, and then things fall together. You might have to do some sanding inside the frame to get everything to fit. But I've got this air tank with a couple of tabs on it, and there are holes in this piece on the frame. And if I can get this to line up, it helps if I get my hand out of the way, then those tabs will fit through the holes and underneath a ridge on the mechanism. I've got one for the other side too. And again, the mechanisms can be slightly different, so this may or may not work. But here it works. And so that, pan up, it holds everything together. So, and that looks weird until we put a pilot on it, which I don't know where I put that. There they are. So that's the basic process. For paint, I would recommend, or I use, Vallejo Surface Primer for an undercoat. And then for final color, I've just been using Tamiya spray paint, like a flat black or a matte black, or the bottle version. Seems to work better. Okay, there'll be a more official video at some point where my chair is not so squeaky, and of course we're going to have to do these for the other locomotives too. But that's the basic process, and that gives you something to work with. Also, this is a very nice whistle from Wiseman Model Services, which I would suggest that. And I'll try to include a bell. I do that when I can, but it doesn't always, I don't always have them in stock. So I've got another batch coming in. So if you didn't get one, let me know and I'll get you one in the mail. But those are the basics. Talk to you later.